The Gamasutra job board is the most diverse, active and established board of its kind for the video game industry. Here is just one of the many positions being advertised right now. Location: Bellevue, Washington. The senior community manager is responsible for directing and conducting day-to-day web and social media interactions with the enthusiasts and fans of Ghost of Tsushima. They will provide world-class personal support by engaging, educating, informing and entertaining our players, while maintaining an ongoing dialogue with the community at large. Responsibilities, qualifications, bonus, portfolio and other requirements. Interested? Apply now. Whether you are just starting out, looking for something new, or just seeing what's out there, the Gamasutra job board is the place where game developers move ahead in their careers. Gamasutra's job board is the most diverse, most active, and most established board of its kind in the video game industry, serving companies of all sizes, from indie to AAA. Looking for a new job? Get started here. Are you a recruiter looking for talent? Post jobs here. The 2019 Game Developers Conference will feature an exhibition called GDCDADICATEDTOGAMES that uses alternative control schemes and interactions. Gamasutra will be talking to the developers of each of the games that have been selected for the showcase. Guitar Wizards draws a pair of players into a battle of sound and light, having them play dueling guitars to launch magical beams at their opponent. Meanwhile, you have to launch riffs at your foe to stop their magical licks from taking you down. Gamasutra sat down with the developers of Guitar Wizards to talk about how they turned a guitar battle into a crowd-pleasing throwdown between mages, how they helped those with little musical experience still create pretty songs, and how a natural cooperation still came of their competitive music game. With our band mechanics, game design, programming and hardware, and kitchen, game design, production. We also worked with our super talented friends, Jason Sutherland, audio, design, and Luke Lothers, art. For the last 3 or so years, we have largely been making games in our spare time, participating in as many jams as we can manage. As our interest in and passion for game design grew, we decided to shift our careers towards making games full-time. McKinney now works as a creative technologist at a company specializing in interactive installations, and Kitchen works as a producer at an independent game development studio called Freelix. Our teammates Sutherland and others work with the Kitchen at Freelix. Guitar Wizards was built using WS-281 to be eligible as the Fazod library, a TNC and BR aligned. The full installation includes wooden and acrylic panels that sandwich the lens and enhance the sparkly effects. For maximum magic, we also used modified Guitar Hero controllers, and we will be bringing custom-made wizard heads along to
GDC 2019
Guitar Wizards is a ribbon-based dueling game that takes place across an LED battleground. Players use modified Guitar Hero controllers to fire chords at one another, and in the process, create a magical spectacle of lights and sounds. By taking away the screen, Guitar Wizards brings players face to face in an epic battle, and allows for a crowd to form around them. The game can be played competitively, as players try to outmaneuver one another, or it can be played cooperatively, as players settle into a groove and find flow. By putting a guitar in their hands and a wizard hat on their heads, Guitar Wizards aims to give players the freedom to perform, and to share a moment of fun with their opponents and onlookers. since we want as many people as possible to experience the magic of Guitar Wizards. We are working on making the game more accessible. We will be bringing an additional set of controllers to the DD exhibition that make it possible for the game to be played one-handed. About 5 years ago, we had a really exciting idea of fantasy-inspired dueling game where spells were fired using gesture recognition gloves. Sounds cool, right? But it was also wildly outside of the scope of our abilities as game designers and developers at the time. Fast forward to 2018, when McInnes happened to work on a LED project and discovered that our idea could be brought to life in a different way. He figured that the LED strips resembled the lanes in Guitar Hero, so we started exploring the possibility of using existing controllers in a new context. That also sparked our interest in adding a musical element to the game. We both find the idea of casting a spell of conjuring some effect in the world really exciting, and we wanted to try to capture that with the Guitar Wizards. The 2-meter-long ladder creates distance between players so that they can see their musical spells travel through space towards their opponent. To highlight the feeling of making magic, we added meteoric light trails to the notes, as well as sparkling effects for when they collide. An important design consideration was also that we wanted the player to feel like the Dark's rockstar wizard, which is at the same time the coolest and silliest thing to be. And that's what we like about Guitar Wizards. It lets you step into that role, and then just lets you have some fun with it irrespective of your skill as a player or musician, a wizard for that matter. The incredible poster art that Luke made, which is part metal album cover and part Terry Pratchett book cover, leans into this idea very nicely. Some of the best experiences we have had at games parties or exhibitions have been around games that are intriguing not only to their players, but also to the crowd around them. We love games like Johann Sebastian Joust, Die Gute Fabrik, 2013, and the shared experience it creates between players and onlookers while they are being played and watched. Those games create little communities around them. We did a few things to try to create the same kind of experience with the Guitar Wizards. First, because the ladder in it is 2 meters long, onlookers can easily fill up the space between players. We try to ensure that the game is set up on a low display tableau so that everyone can see what's happening in the arena. Each player also has a distinct color, making it easy to follow the action. We deliberately kept the rules of Guitar Wizards simply so that it is easy to keep track of no matter when you start watching the duel. These considerations allow onlookers to understand the game's state at a glance and to join in on the performance. For us, the joy of alternative or unique controls is really in their ability to bring people together. Whether it's Guitar Wizards or one of the other incredible entries into this year's
GDC 2019
alternative controllers invite people to share a physical space and a moment of silliness or confusion or mastery. We think that's really special and something worth celebrating. Guitar Wizards was built as a competitive game, but during playtesting we found that some players were more interested in a cooperative experience where they could fall into a rhythm with one another. Even within the competitive framework we created, players were finding ways to work together and were using a call and response playstyle. Since this is a really exciting outcome, we are exploring game modes that support collaborative play further. We like the idea of a low-pressure environment, where people with different levels of skill or even interest in music can feel like a rock star. Maybe that comes from a selfish desire, since neither of us particularly good musicians. Sutherland did an amazing job of making sure that the notes that are played are not discordant. You can play them in whatever configuration, and they will always sound harmonious. As the game progresses, the speed at which the notes travel also increases. If you can keep up, which you are bound to with a little practice, you will also get the feeling of playing a lightning-fast solo. Sutherland also produced a backtrack that establishes a beat, and makes it less daunting for players to start firing off notes. With a backtrack you are building onto something that already sounds good, instead of having to create that from scratch. Project Cars that Slightly Mad Studios is getting into the game console business with its upcoming Madbox. Ian Bell, the CEO of Slightly Mad, announced the upcoming system on Twitter, billing it as a VR-compatible, 4K-capable system that is the most powerful console ever built. Additionally, he says that the Madbox offers developers access to a full and free engine to develop games with as well, both for this and other platforms. Bell elaborated on the plans for the Madbox in an interview with Variety, noting that current arrangements see the console shipping in around 3 years' time with specifications equivalent to a very fast PC 2 years from now. Though conversations with manufacturers are yet ongoing, so specific specs have yet to be nailed down. The system aims to offer support for most major VR headsets, including some currently upcoming devices.